You ready, John?
Yeah.
Now, this is everything you need to know before watching John Wick Chapter 4, which is set to release in theatres on March 24th. The John Wick movies follow the retired hitman, the Chuck Norris of assassins, who seeks revenge against the people who killed his beloved dog and stole his Mustang. After hunting down the men who invaded his house and murdered his treasured puppy, and a few kills later, Keuno Reeves returns for more vengeance. John Wick's name is uttered in the shadows, the man not to be messed with. Leading up to the fourth installment of the franchise, nobody thought back in 2014 we would get a fast action ultra assassin series from it, with Keanu Reeves becoming another badass with guns. Chapter 4 will pick up from the last, where John Wick is declared excommunicado by the High Table. For breaking the rules of the Assassin's Code, he is left isolated from the League of Shadows, so basically all the assassins are after him. He is shot off the roof of the Continental Building, survives and teams up with his former comrade to go after the High Table. And Reeves states, this chapter, they up the body count. Really? From the last one? Recap of Chapter 1 and 2. John recently loses his wife Helen, and to remind John of their love together, she leaves him a puppy as a goodbye gift. A Russian thug insists on buying John's car, and after he says no, the Russian and his crew ransack his home, assault John, kill his dog and get away with his beloved 1969 Mustang. We then learn John Wick is a retired master assassin, blooded by the revenge to kill the man who killed his dog. The Russian thug happens to be the son of Viggo Tarasov, a notorious Russian crime boss, a former work associate of John Wick. After Viggo learns the terrible thing that his son did to John, he sends men after John, but John of course kills him. At this point, there is a $2 million bounty on John's head, and he is on a manhunt to kill Yusuf, Viggo's son. We then learn about the High Table, the Continental, and other assassins along the way from John's past. John manages to kill Viggo's men, his son, and Viggo himself. In the second movie, things get a bit more complicated. We learn that in order for John to retire, he had to complete an impossible task and was aided by a fellow named
Santino.
See, John is part of a network of hitmen under the council named the High Table that govern the underworld's most powerful criminal organizations. Where we learn in the first movie, the High Table controls a chain of hotels called Continental, who have a strict policy on conducting business on their grounds. Santino D'Antonio, who had aided John in his impossible task, comes knocking on John's door and then demands him to fulfill a blood oath he made years ago to enable him to retire. And then the task is he has to kill Santino's sister back in Rome, leaving John with no choice but to accept by blowing up his house. He completes the mission and assassinates his sister, but he is double crossed by Santino, who is trying to tie him. Now John seeks vengeance. He gets help from a guy called the Bowery King, who disguises himself as a woman from Home Alone 2. The bounty for John is now $7 million, and he manages to catch up with Santino, but at the Continental.
There will be no business conducted on the Continental grounds.
And John? Because of this, Winston, the owner of the New York Continental, declares John
excommunicado
for breaking the rules of the Assassin's Code, cutting him off all resources and declaring a global bounty on John for $40 million. But it was nice of Winston to give John a 60-minute head start, but he also gives him a marker. Chapter 3, Parabellum. By the third movie, it's pretty much a massacre for everyone from the criminal underworld who's after John, as he states,
I'll kill them. I'll kill them all.
And all the allies that aided John up to now are now being punished by the High Table by a woman named
Adjudicator here to see you.
John is in seek for a guy named the Elder, the leader of the High Table, and now is aided by a woman named Sophia because of another blood oath.
This is your blood. Your bond.
The Elder gives John the ultimatum. If he kills Winston, he will no longer be excommunicado, and John declares fealty to the Elder by severing his ring finger. John finds Winston, but he doesn't pull the trigger. The Adjudicator states that the Continental is no longer sacred and sends her elite forces to eradicate basically everyone. And John? The Adjudicator and Winston strike a deal, and after John kills everyone, He arrives on the roof. Winston then begins to shoot John off the roof of the Continental to pledge his loyalty. The adjudicator searches for John's body, but John is left wounded, being carried away into the hands of the Bowery King.
This high table shit.
The High Table. The High Table is a secret organization that operates in the shadows of society, having a network of assassins and crime lords that rule the underworld, made up by 12 seats, 12 members, 12 different families from 12 different criminal organizations. They are considered untouchable and protected by the vast network of assassins and enforcers it governs. And only one family has appeared on screen, the Deltano family, and there is a man who sits above the High Table, known as the Elder. There are many collectibles and tokens within the John Wick franchise, which are used throughout the underworld as a method of currency to exchange for resources and favors. We are first introduced about the marker, a golden talisman which opens up to have a blooded thumbprint to resemble a blood oath on someone's unpaid debt. Someone with the marker can ask the giver of the marker a favor for absolutely anything, and when the debt is complete, the High Table keeps a record. A few examples of markers. John gives Santino a marker to enable him to retire, and Santino invokes that marker to get John to kill his sister. Winston gives John a marker before declaring a 14 million bounty on him. And John asks Sophia to enact her blood oath given to him, which aids John in finding the Elder. And the gold coins in John Wick are used as a currency for services that may be used within the underworld, used mostly within the Continental Hotel for services such as doctors, tailors, and
Guns. Lots of guns.
But as part of the underworld, two rules cannot be broken.
No blood on Continental grounds, and every marker must be honored.
Chapter 4. Chapter 4 hints to bring more insight in John's past relationship and endeavors. John is not only lucky to survive thus far with the body count over 9,000,
It's over 9,000!
but blessed to have someone in his bloodline to sit at the High Table.
I don't sit at the table.
Your family does.
Has there been a silent comrade watching his every move? John really is.
He's the one.
And that bloodline may just be the man that severed his ring finger just as John did to pledge fealty to the Elder. We end chapter 3 with Winston betraying Wick, though Sharon says,
Well played, sir.
and we see John Wick get wheeled off to the Birdman. This seems more of Winston's plan, to act as if he serves the throne, but a bigger plan to overthrow it. We see Winston hand John a marker, but the marker John uses in chapter 3 is found in the library book, where he uses to gain a favor from Sophia. So, John still has a blood oath to make. We see in the trailer Winston has returned and stands beside John when he has dealt with the all or nothing decision, a deathmatch between Marcus Tigremant, who sits alongside Kane. The French dude states,
No ideas, no rules, no management.
it seems he is part of another family who sits at the High Table, and his motivation to change the rules and him having to clean up the mess from the first reunion. I'm excited to see the martial art legend Donnie Yen play yet another blind guy from his role in Star Wars, and who forget the ass kicking he gave everyone in IP now. The team travel to Japan in the Osaka Continental Hotel, where we see another family, Koji Shimazu and his daughter Akira. Koji is played by the one and only Hiroyuki Sanada, reprising his role as another master assassin. With the return of Neo and Morphius, we may see John Wick dodging bullets, or Chapter 5.
Yeah.
The world of John Wick has a lot of untold stories, following the history of the High Table, the relationships between John Wick and Winston, as well as how Wick became such a badass. Since the release of the original, the movie has increased in action, intensity, and the stakes. The length of chapter 4 alone is 2 hours 49 minutes, and I have no doubt there will be a chapter 5, as we are yet to discover who sits at all 12 seats of the High Table, and the adjudicator is still alive, and not seen in the trailer of chapter 4. Could we see her returning in a post-credit scene, as we all know John Wick is going to survive. A spin-off has also been announced, Ballerina, to explore ballerina assassins, with Anna DeLay as the lead role, following up on the assassin's world within the John Wick universe, another Kill Bill tale of vengeance. and talk of a TV show surrounding the Continental, expanding the series into a franchise. With the constant reshoots and rescheduling due to the pandemic, John Wick Chapter 4 will hit our theatres on March 24, with its masterful cast of martial arts legends and the return of the dynamic duo. There will be an immense amount of action. Hopefully it will tie up all the loose ends from Chapter 2, with the unknown blood marker handed to John. I'll be doing a breakdown of Chapter 4, so keep an eye out for those events. Throughout the films, John's kill count is over 300. Chapter 4 will add to that tally.
Have we gone too far?
No wonder everyone chooses him in Fortnite. Thanks for watching.